The Chronosport Sea Quartz 30 was the watch of Magnum PI. It was one of the first quartz divers watches, and now we have a reproduction of this watch. It is the Momentum Sea Quartz 30, in which the owner Simon actually owned Chronosport with his brother. Yes, there is a lot to talk about here, so let's get right to it. Normally I start off with all the specs on screen, but we're going to wait on that for a bit because we do have to discuss the origins of this watch a little and how this came to be. And to be clear, I'm not going to give you the full history here because there are countless articles online about Chronosport and now this Momentum as well, and their connection and this case design of this watch. And you know what? I'm probably going to get into it a little bit more in the written review. But for those watching who have no idea what this is a pretty faithful reproduction of the Chronosport Sea Quartz 30 released in 1977. Now, they have softened saying it was one of the first, they have softened saying it was the first quartz dive watch to one of the first, as most articles will point to Seiko in 1977 or 1978. You watch historians out there, I'm sure, have it down to the exact day each watch was debuted, and if you do, post down in the comments below. That watch went on to be used in the first 3 seasons of the original Magnum PI, played by Tom Selleck. Subsequent seasons, he was wearing a Rolex GMT, but alright, what happened to the Chronosport brand? As I am told, and what I have read, Simon left as he was already working for St. Moritz, which became Momentum, or technically is all still the same company, and a few years later his brother sold the rights to the name as well and closed up shop. Now there is another Chronosport from the 1990s, that was in Europe under Helmut Zinn, and I'm going to mispronounce the crap out of this, the Guion, or Guiand brand. That's definitely a French word, and I'm not saying that right at all. But that brand, that Chronosport brand, had nothing to do with the North American Chronosport. So, well, now we're here in 2023, and Momentum decided to release a reproduction of this iconic watch. Now, with the exception of the Superluminova, sapphire crystal, and a sapphire bezel insert, the original used Bakelite, this is a pretty faithful recreation. Again, I don't have the original or one of the originals in front of me, so I'm going based on what I see online, and I think it is a pretty faithful recreation as far as I can tell. The case is 42 millimeters, the same size as it was back in the 80s, which I believe was a larger size for that time period. Now, the case was not made by Monin as many people thought. This style of case was used by Heuer, Pre-Tag, CWC, and a few others. Austin at Momentum tells me the original Chronosport was made by MRP in Switzerland. Now, this new one is made in China, which is probably why they were able to introduce it at such a low price. The pre-order price of $198, which was the original price it sold for in the 80s. Oh, and this watch is sold out right now. They have sold out of 2 pre-orders, though I don't know the quantity of each batch, but if you want one, sign up to the Momentum website so you can be notified when they do another pre-order. The first delivery was the end of January, the second one is to be in May, so not sure when the third one will be available. Now, I also swear I saw on the Momentum website the full retail price to be $350. Yet at this time of this review, it is shown at $259, so either they changed it or I'm losing my mind. Either is absolutely possible. All right, so let's get all the specifications on screen here and talk about this watch itself. Now, this is not an expensive watch, and if you got it under $200, you got this for a great price, but I will mention there are a few things I have found to be lacking. The bezel, for as thick as it is, it's not as easy to turn as I would like. The lume is not what I expected, and the straps have quick release pins that are too quick to release, in my opinion. So as I said, this is a 42mm case. It has a sapphire bezel insert and crystal. It is quartz, obviously, and I will throw up a pic of the original. And as you can see, the dial layout, the hands, the markers, and date are all pretty much the same as the original. Now, without having that original in hand, I can't really tell if that case is identical, but it looks like they made it as close as possible, as I said before. The case is pretty good looking with the brushed and polished finishes. Of course, I would prefer it if it was all brushed, but these are solid crown guards that are actually part of the case and a large screw down crown. The bezel itself is polished, and from my example, and one other person who I saw said the same thing, the bezel is a little too hard to turn. Now, I'm not sure if this is because I can't get the best grip due to how polished it is, or if the bezel needs to be worked in a little bit, or it's just a mechanism. But I've always loved this case design, and as it is, it's very attractive, and it's also very comfortable when on the wrist, but I definitely would like if that bezel action was a lot better. Also, this has some good heft to it at about 95 grams in weight, so a nice solid feeling. At this time, there is only one dial option, this black dial with the green C3 hands and markers, paddle marker hour hand and the broadsword minute hand, and a good sized second hand with the similar paddle style filled with lume. The color of the lume paint can look a little yellow at times. I've seen some pics where it looks like old radium lume or patina lume as some call it, and that's just lighting and maybe how it can be looked at through the crystal at times. It is green in color though, not yellow. Now, with quartz and hand-applied hands, you're going to see that the second hand does not always hit every marker on the dial, and you will notice on this example, it's oh so very close, but looking when it ticks along from 6 to 12, it is off ever so slightly. The day date is nice to see and true to the original, and this sapphire crystal, it's really nice, especially on a budget watch such as this. It's flat and very clear with little to no reflection. Between the, well, I'm not even going to say it because I'm going to mispronounce the word, but we'll say the flange and the crystal. Between the flange and the crystal, you can see a white O-ring seal. On the back, well, it's just a very simple polished case back, the type I would expect to see in a watch from the 80s. Matter of fact, I remember owning many watches from the 80s and 90s where the case back was never anything special. On the website, you do get a choice of two strap colors, the Black Tropic or the orange. Now, Momentum does offer other colors of their Tropic straps, and you can order them for $35. Now, I had them send the green that you see here, but there is also a blue, a white, and a red. These are FKM rubber straps with quick release pins and two keepers. Now the strap feels good, these are not lint or dirt magnets, and I like the Tropic look, even if a little overused at this point. Now that said, throughout photography and doing this video, anytime I put the tiniest bit of pressure on those levers, the strap was coming off, and a few times the watch actually just fell to the floor. Fortunately, the floor in my office is carpeted. Now, I didn't have a strap come off while I was wearing it, but I can see if you were to smack the strap or the watch hard in the right place, it could come off. Now, you can, of course, remove the quick change pins to standard pins if you choose, but this is something I wanted to point out and make sure people are aware of. As I have stated throughout the video, the watch looks and feels great on my 7.5 inch or 19.05 centimeter wrist, and the strap fits my wrist no problem, though I would say this would probably only fit up to, say, 7.75 inch comfortably, maybe 8 inches, but if you're someone with a really large wrist, you're gonna want to get a larger strap. This case design also, it wears pretty flat on the wrist, it's not bulging off at all, and to me, it's actually very comfortable. The lume is decent, but you will notice how much dimmer it is on the bezel, which definitely fades out much quicker than the dial, as you can see here on screen. It is C3 Superluminova, but with printed markers and a small area on the bezel specifically to apply the lume. It's bright initially, but don't expect this to be the lume champ in your watch box. I found it to fade out completely in about 3 hours. Now, without question, the initial pre-order price was fantastic for $198, but even at $259, it's still a great value. Yes, it is quartz, it says that in the model name. Hey, but quartz is great for grab and go, and this is a good watch to daily. The build is solid, the look of this dial and case is simple and clean, and I find it very attractive myself, and this is an iconic watch from history, brought back by the owner of the Chronosport company, so you got that going for it as well. Now, looking up some vintage pieces, they can go between $3,000 and $6,000, which is crazy. But it also made me think it was smart of Momentum to capitalize on this and release a reproduction. And also, if you're someone that actually spent $3,000 to $4,000 on a vintage piece, you probably don't want to wear it daily. And for less than $300, you can have this Momentum reproduction to knock around in. Now, hopefully the bezel action can be improved, and hoping for some different dials in the future, and maybe even a bracelet option would be great as well. Now, these are currently sold out, so sign up on their website to be notified when the next pre-order goes live. It will be interesting to see if these watches ever hit regular stock this year. Let me know what you think of this Momentum Sea Quartz 30 down in the comment section below. There will be a written article on watchreport.com as well. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, and yes, give this video a like. And if you never want to miss a video, hit that bell icon. All of that is free. It helps with the algorithm, and it does really help out the channel. You can find us on social media. It is at Watch Report. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. This is Don Evans from Watch Report. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.